Hi folks, today I just thought I'd share with you my experiences of BushBuddy gasifier stoves, and in this case the BushBuddy Mini. So this is how I received it in this box. You can see it's quite a small, relatively small unit. Now I got the combination package that came with the pot, which is a little titanium pot. Personally, I think any stove is really useful if it comes with a cooking pot as part of the package. Just gives you more options when you're out in the field. So that's why I went for this one. Obviously the little bag as well is quite useful once it's been covered in soot to put back in your rucksack. It's always handy to have that. So this is the titanium pot and the stove sits inside. Now the other advantage of having a self-contained setup with a pot and the stove is I've also included my homemade fire lighters, which is just egg carton, sawdust and candle wax. So that's a great way of just starting your fire quickly. And then the stove itself has two parts. That's the rest of the pot. So it has the stove, and then this section fits inside, and then when you use it you put it on top, and then your pot, it's essentially the pot stand, and the pot is raised above the fire then. So one of the things you can do with these stoves, obviously preload it from the top, and then with the Mini, because it has a base that is just a mesh, you can actually light from below and it'll light through the actual kindling. So that's quite a big advantage, I think. So this is essentially my fire starter. So BushBuddy started out in Alaska, and they're still made in Alaska to this day. And they were one of the first companies or people to really investigate portable stoves that use a gasifier approach. So essentially it's a double-walled stove, and you can see the vents at the bottom. They suck the air in there, and then because of the double wall, it heats the air before it then is mixed. The oxygen is then mixed with the gases from the wood. And what that means is it's a much more efficient burn. Now, I think there were traditional versions of these types of stoves, but they were much larger. And what BushBuddy did was take the concept and make a more portable version that was suitable for camping in the wilds. And they were pretty much one of the first people to do it. Now, they have been widely copied. Some very commercially successful companies have copied this model, but they of course make all their products, you know, in vast quantities in the Far East. And what I think is admirable and what I really like about BushBuddy is that they still make their product in Alaska, and they actually make it in an off-grid workshop in the wilds of Alaska. So that's quite incredible really, and one of the main reasons I wanted to support them. Now cost-wise, there's probably not much in it between this one and the better quality copies. But the only drawback of BushBuddy is the lead time to get one. So you go into a queue, and the lead time when I bought this, I think, was around 9 months. But you know, for something like this, I think it's worth the wait. Now the Mini is the second generation version. It is smaller than the original, and also the original had a solid base, or an ash pan as they call it, which kept the stove off the actual ground. Now there are some advantages to that, but I think this version with the open base is really beneficial for lighting from below, particularly in windy conditions. Now it's known to be a very efficient stove. That's one of the advantages of the double wall gasifier style. And I live in a very wet part of the world where it rains pretty much most of the time. So although I was able to gather some dry twigs off the trees, they're still not going to be perfectly dry, and yet it's burning perfectly well just with a few twigs and my homemade fire lighter. Now once I put the pot on the stove, I can still feed it through this gap on the one side. Now you can angle that away from the wind, so there's some protection, and you can keep adding fuel. Very small twigs are allowing me to really boil a pot of water for my tea, so super efficient, exactly what you want in something portable. So it doesn't take long, and it's boiling away merrily. So folks, what more could you want really? A couple of bits of pretty damp kindling, collected off some dead trees, and managed to make a brew. So I think that's the real advantage of these gasifier stoves, is they're so efficient. You can get them to work in any condition. Recently, used it in the snow, another time in a very wet woodland. My first attempt was in a very wet woodland, managed to make a brew there as well. So yeah, it's such a great little stove. Now, in comparison to the Firebox Nano, which is probably one of my most used kindling stoves, that its portability makes it such a useful stove. But this one, I think in sort of the colder, wetter conditions, that's when you tend to find, wood burning stoves aren't, as good as they can be. But this one, obviously developed in Alaska, so they know the conditions well, and what a joy. So very happy with it. And I love the story with BushBuddy, the fact that they have an off-grid workshop in the middle of Alaska, and they're still making it as they did right in the beginning. Much copied, but I don't think bettered. So do yourself a favor, do them a favor, go and support a really good company with a good strong ethic, I think. So very happy, and hopefully that was useful to you guys. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.